The U.S. military flew 2 strategic bombers over the Korean Peninsula in a show of force late on Tuesday, as President Donald Trump met top defense officials to discuss how to respond to any threat from North Korea. Tensions have soared between the United States and North Korea following a series of weapons tests by Pyongyang and a string of increasingly bellicose exchanges between Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. North Korea has launched 2 missiles over Japan and conducted its 6th nuclear test in recent weeks as it fast advances towards its goal of developing a nuclear-tipped missile capable of hitting the U.S. mainland. The 2 U.S. Air Force B-1B bombers were joined by 2 F-15K fighters from the South Korean military after leaving their base in Guam, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said in a statement on Wednesday. After entering South Korean airspace, the 2 bombers carried out air-to-ground missile drills in waters off the east coast of South Korea, then flew over the south to waters between it and China to repeat the drill, the release said. The U.S. military said in a separate statement it conducted drills with Japanese fighters after the exercise with South Korea, making it the first time U.S. bombers have conducted training with fighters from both Japan and South Korea at night. The U.S. bombers had taken off from the Andersen Air Force Base in Guam. In August, Pyongyang threatened to fire intermediate-range missiles towards the vicinity of Guam, a U.S. Pacific territory that is frequently subjected to saber rattling from the north. The 2 U.S. Air Force B-1B bombers were joined by 2 F-15K fighters from the South Korean military after leaving their base in Guam, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said in a statement on Wednesday. After entering South Korean airspace, the 2 bombers carried out air-to-ground missile drills in waters off the east coast of South Korea, then flew over the south to waters between it and China to repeat the drill, the release said. The U.S. military said in a separate statement it conducted drills with Japanese fighters after the exercise with South Korea, making it the first time U.S. bombers have conducted training with fighters from both Japan and South Korea at night. The U.S. bombers had taken off from the Andersen Air Force Base in Guam. In August, Pyongyang threatened to fire intermediate-range missiles towards the vicinity of Guam, a U.S. Pacific territory that is frequently subjected to saber rattling from the north. South Korean and U.S. government officials have been raising their guard against more North Korean provocations with the approach of the 72nd anniversary of the founding of North Korea's ruling party, which fell on Tuesday. Trump hosted a discussion on Tuesday on options to respond to any North Korean aggression or, if necessary, to prevent Pyongyang from threatening the United States and its allies with nuclear weapons, the White House said in a statement. Trump was briefed by Secretary of Defense James Mattis and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Joseph Dunford at a national security team meeting, the statement said. U.S. and South Korean wartime operational plans, including a plan to wipe out the North Korean leadership, were stolen by North Korean hackers last year, a South Korean ruling party lawmaker said on Wednesday. Some 235 gigabytes of military documents were taken from South Korea's Defense Integrated Data Center in September last year, Democratic Party Representative Ri Chil-hee said in radio appearances on Wednesday, citing information from unidentified South Korean defense officials. In May, an investigative team inside the Defense Ministry announced the hack had been carried out by North Korea, but did not disclose what kind of information had been taken. The United Nations Security Council, which has imposed a series of ever tighter sanctions on North Korea, has banned 4 ships from ports globally for carrying coal from North Korea, including 1 vessel that also had ammunition. The vessels are the first to be designated under stepped-up sanctions imposed on North Korea by the 15-member Council in August and September over 2 long-range ballistic missile launches and Pyongyang's 6th and largest nuclear test. China, North Korea's main ally and trading partner, has consistently argued sanctions alone will not work, urging Washington and Pyongyang to lower their rhetoric and return to the negotiating table. China's influential Global Times tabloid expressed alarm at how far the rhetoric on both sides had gone and how it had increased the risk of a fatal misjudgment. The international community won't accept North Korea as a nuclear power. North Korea needs time and proof to believe that abandoning its nuclear program will contribute to its own political and economic advantage. This positive process is worth a try, the paper said in an editorial late on Tuesday. War would be a nightmare for the Korean Peninsula and surrounding regions. We strongly urge North Korea and the US to stop their bellicose posturing and seriously think about a peaceful solution, it said. After a routine training run in Alpena County, Michigan in late July, U.S. Air National Guard Captain Brett DeVries survived the perfect storm of malfunctions to safely land his A-10 Thunderbolt II on its belly without the benefit of landing gear. During a training exercise where A-10 pilots practiced dropping inert bombs and ripping the plane's massive gun, DeVries' gun malfunctioned. Moments later, his canopy blew off his plane as he flew along at 375 miles an hour, according to a U.S. Air National Guard write-up of the event. The incredible wind smacked DeVries' head against his seat, nearly incapacitating him. "It was like someone sucker punched me," he said. "I was just dazed for a moment." DeVries' wingman, Major Shannon Vickers, then flew under his plane to assess the damage, finding bad news. The panels under his plane had been damaged, and it was unclear if he would be able to lower his landing gear. Meanwhile, DeVries struggled against the wind and having everything loose in his cockpit. He could no longer benefit from checklists, which had become a liability that could now potentially fly out and get stuck in his engine. DeVries, having the flight from hell, had two of his radios go down and had to communicate with Vickers and flight control on his third backup system. They worked together to find him a nearby spot to land, and Vickers observed that DeVries would not in fact be able to use his landing gear. "I just thought, there is no way this is happening right now. It all was sort of surreal, but at the same time, we were 100% focused on the task ahead of us," Vickers said. Miraculously, thanks to the meticulous training A-10 pilots undergo and the incredibly rugged design of the plane, DeVries walks away unscathed, and maintainers will be able to fix the plane.
The other person here. Hey, are you busy? The name of the file. All right.
And that was for 155.13?
Yeah, we just need to plug it.
So we're already there.
Are you getting enough?
Stateside, being tapped into this scenario, they can be on it.
Well, you said they burned it yesterday.
Came up just fine from our base, so it's been a great experience.
Did you stay in there?
Yeah.
Duplicate an environment. I mean, how do you do that? How do you? So if you were to get access, let's just say to Linda Singh.
I don't get that lanyard. It comes off like that. It is a safety thing, but we're just reloading, so no robo.
Nope, no robo check.
What did you guys do that you got? This guy had 8 alarms.